Welcome back this week to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
I'm Lauren.
We have a great show for you today.
We always have a great show.
Talking about fatigue.
Oh.
It's a very big topic, and a lot of our patients that come in are tired. That's their biggest complaint. So there's a lot of reasons for that, and for me personally, if you know my story, I've had every hormone problem that a female can have. And it was like, there is no tired, like hormone tired. It's one thing if you stayed up late, which actually I did stay up late talking to somebody last night on the phone. It was like 1 a.m. I'm like, I have to go to sleep. So I woke up a little tired and grumpy, which is one of the worst problems with being tired is grumpiness.
Oh, yeah. Irritability with being tired is...
Yeah, that's the worst.
It's kind of like with little kids, you're like, you need a nap? You somebody grumpy today? Yeah.
Self-care, with kids, we do that. We're like, do you need a nap? Is somebody grumpy today?
Right.
We don't do that with ourselves.
Nobody forces us to take a nap sometimes,
right?
That we're fighting, but at the end that we wake up so grateful and love life. It's like sometimes
Start it over.
I swear a nap is like the best thing in the world during the day, But, obviously whenever you have the hormone issues that actually cause the fatigue and the tiredness, a nap will only do so much, right?
So I want to talk about diagnosing your fatigue and how you know if it's hormonal or if it's a sleep issue. So if you're tired when you wake up first thing in the morning, that's a sleep issue. That could still be hormonal, like especially around menopause or what we call perimenopause. Women's progesterone start going down, and progesterone means progestation. So that hormone is the pregnancy hormone, basically, if you've ever been pregnant, which guys out there don't understand this, but males and females have all the same hormones. But progesterone makes you so tired when you're pregnant. I don't know if you remember that when you had Hayden, but it's like...
Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
All the time, you're like exhausted. I'd come home from work and I would literally just go to bed and I'd be done, checked out. So when your progesterone declines, you don't sleep as well. If you're overweight, which is a hormone, it kind of all goes back to hormone, right? When you're a hormone queen, that's everything hormones. When you're overweight, which is usually a thyroid problem or an insulin problem, a lot of times you'll have something called sleep apnea, and that's diagnosed by having a neck circumference of 17 centimeters or greater. I always forget inches or centimeters. So snoring is not normal. And I've seen people with heart failure from snoring, from sleep apnea. So it's not a benign process. It's kind of funny when you hear somebody snore real loud, but snoring can actually kill you. It can be deadly. Not to mention that if you have sleep apnea, because that snoring is obstruction in the back of the throat, so it interrupts your airflow and your sleep, and you have to go through certain stages.
Right.
And in a certain pattern, and then REM sleep is one of those stages, and then there's other stages that you go through throughout the night. So if you're being disrupted, you might wake up from a stage 4 to a stage 3 or 2, and it's not a conscious awake. So you might say, well, I didn't wake up through the night, but your sleep stages are disrupted.
Yeah, that's like, so whenever you have the Fitbit is tracking your sleep cycle, that's like, that was pretty much the reason I had a Fitbit, was to track my sleep cycle, just because I thought it was so neat, because I would have no idea. It would say I was up for an hour, or like a couple different times it would show me like I was in awake state, because it would show you all your levels of
But
sleep.
you don't remember being awake.
Oh,
but
no.
It said that you were in awake state.
Yeah.
So that's a...
I don't. It's like sometimes I won't even remember tossing and turning, or like, because sometimes you'll have that groggy, like, oh, I remember turning this way, or I remember adjusting.
Or go to the bathroom or something in the night.
Yeah. I'll wake up not remembering anything, and it's like, oh, well, you were, you actually got up and did jumping jacks last night. You know what I mean? No, it's like, it's just kind of, it'll tell you, like,
well,
it's
that's
just
interesting you said that, because a lot of times if you go to a traditional doctor, they just give you sleeping pills if you know you have insomnia. And that sleeping pill, like Xanax or Ambien or any of those, they just knock you out, but you don't go through all the sleep stages. Same thing with alcohol. You might think alcohol puts you to sleep, but it's not.
It's horrible
the
sleep.
Right sleep stages. And
Oh,
so
that's
you'll
interesting.
be tireder when you wake up.
Yeah, because.
Oh, but what I was going to say
Totally.
about that is because some people will get up and eat and drive their car and
yes.
do all sorts of crazy things on those meds.
I have heard some scary stories about Ambien. But so what happens whenever you drink, like, because that is something, you're like, oh, you'll kind of crash hard, and you're like, oh, I'm getting to sleep. but then you wake up and you're like, you can't even go back to sleep. It's like you feel like crap,
right?
You know, and not even like hangover wise, but like you could tell you didn't get rest.
Yeah.
So like, what happens? Like, does it go from like point A to point Z?
Yeah, like you go through those sleeps. It takes you right down to, you know, like stage 4, but you didn't go through the right stages.
Right.
So, you know, that in itself is very disruptive. And then it's like you want to go back through your stages again, and then it's like all disrupted.
It's almost like your body's...
There's a certain order it has to go through.
It's almost like your body's like exhausted from, you know, skipping this, sprinting from here to here without... you know, warming up first to get to there, you know? So it's
narcotics do that as well. Just like alcohol, they're depressants. So, you know, I'll do a little plug for cannabis. So many people are so fearful of it. We actually do the cannabis evaluations for certification here because I didn't bring my book, but you can flash a picture. But as I was doing my research for that, I realized that cannabis has so many medicinal value, you know, so much medicinal value. And it's like, reefer madness, we bash it, but cannabis is actually wonderful for sleep. The right sleep stages. Now, if you drink alcohol with cannabis, that's a problem because you're messing up your sleep cycles. But cannabis by itself
can't take over, can't fix the alcohol, you know, issues from sleeping, but just using that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So let's take a little break because I know we need a couple commercials in here. But when we come back, I'm going to tell you some other ways that you can diagnose why you're tired by how you feel during the day. So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to The Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
Lauren.
We were just talking about how smart we are. We always say you're so smart. It's so wonderful.
So smart.
Yeah, it's such cool stuff we talk about. I could talk forever. So sometimes you got to cut me off just a little bit.
I'm excited to learn about, you know, understanding why am I tired today?
Why am I tired? Yeah.
Is it because I drank 3 bottles of wine last night, or is it?
Yeah, right. Well, and it's interesting because we're all about the why. And traditional medicine often just wants to throw meds at stuff. A sleeping pill at something. You know, if you're tired during the day, it's a stimulant. So,
react to reaction as opposed to undo an action.
Exactly.
You know, a reaction.
Find the underlying cause. That's so important. So, okay, we just talked about if you're tired first thing when you wake up in the morning, you've got sleep disruption, or you've got a hormone balance, or even melatonin. Melatonin's great for sleep. I take melatonin every night. The problem with melatonin is that people don't take enough. So you go get it over the counter. Usually you're going to get 3 or 5 milligrams.
There's also ones for 1 milligram.
Right. Some people need up to 30 milligrams. So
yeah, well, I was taking
like
before I met you.
I wouldn't start with 30 milligrams. I'd start with 3 or 5 because you can be a little groggy in the morning. But
exactly. Like before I met you, you know, I had melatonin and I would take I think I had the 1 milligram. I didn't even know that they were coming in different strengths. And so...
it's just melatonin, right?
Right. So I was only taking 1. and then you're like, oh yeah, it takes 30. I was like, wait.
30?
I was like, wait, what? And so they was like, wait, how much are you supposed to have? And so then when you explained it to me, I was like, oh, I had no idea, you know.
I take about 30. I take 3 tins.
I think I take 9 to 10.
Again, I wouldn't start with that. I mean, I'd start 5, take 10, you know, just kind of, because you never know. I don't want you to be mad at me. Won't hurt you, I just don't want you to be mad at me.
Well, and you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to wake up the next day and feel almost like you're, it's almost like it would, if I could visualize that, like your body is using, you're almost putting quarters in a parking meter.
Yeah, right.
You know, so it's like, it allows you to, you know, you don't want to have to drive off when you still got time left in the parking meter, you know, because there's going to be something off there, you know, so that's kind of how you don't want to take too much, like you said.
Melatonin is actually a hormone that's made by the pituitary gland in the brain, and it promotes sleep. And it also has other functions for weight loss, and it has other functions for feeling good.
I was about to say, does it do something with your brain?
Yeah, euphoria. Increases your dopamine levels, which are your happy hormones. But, one of the interesting things is that there are certain things that stimulate melatonin besides just taking melatonin, your own melatonin. Dark room. Lack of light. Yeah, it triggers that melatonin to come on. So especially if you're a shift worker, you don't want a little light in the room. And you've probably experienced that before. You wake up in the morning because light starts coming in your window.
So, okay, so that's neat. So that's like what, because the melatonin actually makes us feel a little bit sleepy also.
Yeah,
right?
Some people can actually be a little groggy. Some people have weird nightmares on it too. So it's not for everybody.
Well, so like, because when I was holding the baby this weekend, I was holding that baby, like I was blocking any light from hitting his eyes. Yeah. Because it's like his eyes are wide open, and so I just block a little light, and he just
it goes to sleep.
He just.
Babies are really fresh with their hormones and their pineal glands and all that stuff, so it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Magnesium, we've done shows about magnesium before. Magnesium can actually trigger melatonin release. So, and magnesium helps with smooth muscle relaxation. So if you're tense, if you had a rough day and you're like tense or you're clenching your jaw, some people take Epsom salt baths. So just that soothing magnesium can actually stimulate. It's still relaxation of the magnesium. Magnesium helps with blood pressure too. So it's constipation.
The tract, right? The GI, right? Which
absolutely.
It's a good lead into these guys too, right?
Oh yeah. This is our detox formula, which actually helps heal leaky gut, if I can say that. I'm not seeing magnesium in here, so definitely you'll want to get, you can flash up a little picture of our metabolic packs, but they're really good. Magnesium's great.
How much magnesium would you recommend the average person to take?
Well, there's different types of magnesium. I actually did a Facebook post not too long ago, but there's oxide, glycinate, citrate. I mean, it's just kind of different, and there's different formulas that work for different things. Magnesium oxide is the cheapest, and it has a lot of digestive effects. So if you have constipation, that's the best one. The citrate is actually a little better for sleep and relaxation.
So you have to get different ones. Okay, so it's like the calm, like the powder calm stuff.
Yeah,
is that
that's a citrate.
Wait, what? So what is the citrate one?
It just calms you more. Relaxation. The oxide works on your gut more.
Oh, I need to tell my mom that. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Epsom salts are the citrate, I believe. I had to double check that.
Is it? Will they vary on what type of form they come in, like whether it's powder or a pill?
Yeah, absolutely. So for oxide for constipation, which constipation can actually make you tired too, because toxins and those toxins building up from the food. Plus it just causes bloating, which can disrupt your sleep as well if your stomach's not comfortable. But usually with magnesium oxide, I have usually people start out with 200 to 400 milligrams and then work up as tolerated to not have diarrhea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about the sleepy one? What about the magnesium that's citrate?
Yeah, it's kind of dosed the same way, but again, it can cause some diarrhea, and that's really what we call the titration point or the limiting point.
The what point?
The limiting point is where you start to get diarrhea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, stop.
You've reached your limit.
You've reached
Put the magnesium down.
So let's talk about some of the other things that can happen that, like during the course of a day, that tells you what your fatigue is. So if you're tired all day long, pretty much from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, that could be different nutrient deficiencies. So we have a B12 shot here. We do these mix shots in our office. The mix shot is a B12 with what we call methionine, inositol, and choline, which are amino acids that help it get into the cellular.
Again.
Methionine, inositol, and choline. So those are amino acids that help the B12 get into the cell. Okay. So if you're tired during the day, you could be because you have a nutrient deficiency, right? So we have a lot of supplements for that as well. B12 is huge for that.
Like we say, most people have a B12 and a vitamin D
deficiency
anyway, which also causes you to be tired, fatigued.
Yeah, exactly.
No energy.
So if you're tired all day long, it could be that. If you're tired all day long, it could be your thyroid. So go back to YouTube and watch our thyroid shows, part 1 and part 2, and learn as much as you want about thyroid. But thyroid thyroid helps your metabolism. It helps with weight loss. It helps. So when it's crashed, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're tired after you eat, 20 to 30 minutes after you eat, it's probably a blood sugar issue. Insulin, another hormone. So what happens is if you eat sugar throughout the day, you start out in the morning and you eat sugar, and your insulin responds to that sugar bolus, basically. So I always tell people, don't have any carbs if you can possibly avoid it till about noon, because you start this cycle with sugar, insulin, sugar, insulin. So you've probably heard the term insulin crash. So when you eat sugar, insulin's secreted to lower that, and then people have hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, and then they crave more sugar. So you crave sugar throughout the whole day, and you crave more sugar, you eat more sugar, you feel stimulated for a minute, but then the sugar high, and then the sugar crash. So that's one way you can help that, is to not eat sugar in the morning and have protein. So a good protein supplement. Eggs, avocado, nuts, anything.
So you don't want to eat oatmeal. It's carb?
Yeah, that's a lot of carb. It's funny because in my medical school training, they used to tell people to eat a Snickers bar or to drink orange juice when their sugar got low. That's the worst thing you can do, because you're just going to be chasing that cycle all day long.
Oh, really?
So protein's really the best thing for that.
Oh, okay. So when you're feeling that fatigue from any kind of sugar or insulin drop or whatever,
now there are some people that are diabetic that take too much insulin. They have to have some sugar. So that's a different story. So I'm not, if you're a type 1 diabetic or something on insulin, that's a whole different story.
But you're saying that to do protein to combat that?
And it's interesting because we used to always give orange juice. Milk has so much sugar in it. We could do a whole show just on the detriments of pasteurized milk. It's the worst source of vitamin D, and it's basically just sugar water after it's pasteurized.
Well, but it's delicious.
It is delicious. I was never a milk drinker, really, and dairy is on my food sensitivity, so that was a big deal.
I tried to pretend that I didn't see my dairy panel because it was pretty much all threes. And I've lived on milk my whole life. I would get milk when we go out to dinner. There's something about it that was so satisfying to me.
Oh, well,
maybe I was
cookies or
to
something. We shouldn't be talking about
not with cookies, just milk. It was just milk.
Oh, just
yeah.
Milk. Oh, yeah, not me.
But yeah, now I go to goat's milk, so that's good. But
so we talked about doing a chalkboard segment, but I think we're just having a good conversation. So I think we're just gonna skip that today, if that's okay. But we're gonna take a little break and come back and talk more about fatigue, how to diagnose it, how to treat it in a natural way, how to know, the underlying reason for it. So we'll be right back in a few minutes with the Naked Doctor. Hi, welcome back to the Naked Doctor. We are talking about fatigue today. And so I have to just skip into hormone stuff. But one of the things about female hormones is that it can affect your sleep, both progesterone and estrogen. We talked a little bit about progesterone. But menopause or perimenopause, when the progesterone declines, it is almost the number one reason, unless you're obese and you have sleep apnea and you have thyroid issues, which thyroid issues often follow female hormone issues. But that decline is one of the first things that women complain about. And
it's not sleeping?
It's not sleeping. And it's interesting because they make excuses. They say it's stress. And stress absolutely can affect sleep.
I'm so busy and,
I'm so busy,
doing all this
stuff. So it's like, what are the excuses you tell yourself about sleep?
When it's not in it, right, and not like intentional either, because a lot of people probably don't have any idea.
They go to the doctor and they get the runaround, and they're like, here's your sleeping pill and here's your stimulant.
And a lot of people don't want to take sleeping pills because they're aware of the dependency that comes with that, which is scary.
And it's like a lot of women say, well, I got through menopause just fine because I didn't have hot flashes. Hot flashes are so minute in the symptoms of menopause. Fatigue is the number one because of lack of sleep. And you know what? Fatigue is not a benign condition. They have
What does that mean?
Benign means that it's not lethal. It is lethal because it can cause you to gain weight, and when you're overweight, increases your risk of heart disease and strokes and all that. Fatigue also, they have done studies to show that fatigue behind the wheel is more dangerous than drinking alcohol. And actually, I have a little story about that. When I was in college, I was so fatigued. I had thyroid issues, didn't even know it. Actually fell asleep. The only car accident I've ever had in my whole life, knock on wood.
Right.
Knock on wood. I rear-ended a semi. Fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh my gosh.
And when I was in my residency program, I was so tired. I think 43 hours was the longest I was ever awake. And I don't think they do that anymore. I think they have rules against that. But I remember I was so tired. But I knew, because I'd rear into that truck that one time, that I would put my car in park at a stoplight and take like a 2-second nap, and then somebody behind me would be honking. But it was like, I was dangerous.
That is scary.
Straight up dangerous.
Yeah, that's scary. The times that there's like been one time that I had to actually pull over and like close my eyes because.
Start hallucinating.
Yes, that's what's scary.
The road starts going. Woo!
Yes.
It's worse than being drunk, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They're both bad, but. So one of the other main reasons. So we talked about women in menopause and premenopause. Peri just means around the time of menopause.
Oh, okay.
Is for men is testosterone. So one of the things that happens, and we have guys that have low testosterone in their teens and 20s. There's so much estrogen influence in the environment that affects testosterone. So one of the things is that guys gain weight, and that can cause apnea, right? Obstructive apnea, snoring, gaining weight. And then the other thing is that you need testosterone for muscle strength. So your muscle actually stimulates more testosterone, which helps with stimulation. Testosterone helps with energy levels. It can drive up B12 and things in the cells. So testosterone's huge. Libido. But most people, they think libido, my testosterone's fine. They call it the John Wayne syndrome. Libido is actually the last thing to go.
Right.
Fatigue and weight gain and loss of muscle and, man boobs.
And that belly.
The belly.
That's the one thing, whenever, talking to a patient, it's like, when they talk about loss of libido, it's like, hey, you would definitely have low T.
They've all got low T, yeah. It's interesting. I've got a little formula that I actually made up myself. Yes, I'm a little nerd. But it's based on the circumference of your waist and your age. So it's funny because the formula's in here if you want to calculate it before, to know you need to get your blood checked, but you probably do anyway. But it's funny because I used to watch people go into restaurants and I would look and I would try to estimate their age and then I would estimate how overweight they were. So yeah, the little formula in here, it's kind of fun, but almost everybody flunks it or has low T.
Gosh, you're a hard bargain over there, aren't you?
Yeah, it's tough. And this is so easy to fix. I mean, there's so many forms that you can get this in, and
it's a life changer.
It's a life changer. Yeah, absolutely. So hormones are huge. It's a really big deal. So that's what we do. A lot of times when people go to their doctor and they get their, fatigue assessment, they don't look at the underlying cause. They don't look at these hormones. If you ask for your hormones to be checked, they might do a TSH, which is a very simplistic thyroid test. It's not complete enough to really diagnose thyroid problems. And one of the other problems is low iron. Low iron is huge with fatigue. So especially in menstruating females, so it's not just about menopause, but if you have really heavy periods, we talked about that on the thyroid show, you spill your iron, and it is exhausting. And I've had people come in with iron levels so low that they had to get iron infusions because iron can be pretty constipating taking it orally. It's not the best absorbed route. So if your iron is really depleted, that can be a big deal. So getting your iron levels checked can be really super important as well. So nutrient deficiencies are one of the biggest ones, but hormone deficiencies are absolutely huge. So if you're tired when you wake up in the morning, you have some sort of sleep disruption or you have sleep apnea. If you're tired all day long, that's usually a thyroid problem or a hormone problem. And if you're tired about 30 minutes after you eat, especially if you've eaten a lot of carbs,
blood
blood sugar. It's an insulin crash. And some people say, well, I can't be diabetic because I've always had low blood sugar. Well, that's because you're taxing the system. And, you know, one soda, Coke, I don't know, if, I guess we call it Coke here. Whatever your soda, pop, they say pop in the North. One soda is about 45 grams of sugar, which the human body, the human pancreas can only handle about 30 grams of sugar. So if you're drinking sodas all day long, you're having those insulin crashes frequently, you're probably going to become diabetic because the body's just not meant to be stressed that way. So the statistics now are 1 in 3 people have diabetes, or at least are going to by the end of the decade. So it's like we have all this sugar. Sugary drinks are like the worst. On our sugar show, you know, we talked about they used to those little CNH pink packages. We used to consume like 2 of those in a year. We consume 72 in a year now.
Oh, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
It's crazy.
I know. So yeah, if you're having those insulin crashes, it's a big deal. You know, it's interesting because people are like, I can't have diabetes, I've had low blood sugar. But after a while, your insulin receptors don't work anymore, and then you have type 2 diabetes. So it is a big deal. So fatigue can cause life-threatening diseases as well. So
yeah, so if you're tired and, you know, throughout the day, and you know, just pay attention to what's going on in your life. And it's not just you know, it could absolutely be something it's not just a norm. You're not supposed to be tired. You know, you're supposed to be living and having energy and happy and yeah. So come here and we'll help you figure out what it is.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about stress, but stress is a whole nother issue. It causes adrenal hormone issues. So we'll do if we haven't already done a show on stress, we'll do a whole show on stress. So
I'm sure there's plenty of content that we could do a whole nother show on.
Yeah, absolutely. So come see us. Order the books on Amazon.com if you want to. Come get a B12 shot. Do some blood work. Check your hormone levels. Check your iron levels. Check your B12 levels. Find out the underlying cause. Don't just accept that, you know, that you're just tired for no reason and take a pill for that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and even if you do take sleeping pills and you want to get off of them, you know, figuring that process out and balancing yourself out to where you can get off of that, we can help you with that as well. So
absolutely. So come see us. Our website is
healingartcenters.com.
Thank you.
Yep. Check us out on Facebook and at Healing Art Centers. Actually, it's Dr. Tammy's Healing Art Centers and also The Naked Doctor Show. Instagram at The Naked Doctor Show, at Healing Art Centers, all that good stuff.
YouTube, you can watch all our shows.
Yeah, all of our shows on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you miss anything, you want to go back and watch something. There's a lot of good content. I know sometimes we feed a bunch of content to you that is a lot of information. So
yeah, but it's usually good information. So you can go back and take notes if you want to.
Information. Yes.
All right, we love you all very, very much. Have a blessed week, and don't accept being tired. And we'll see you back here next week on The Naked Doctor.
Oh my God. Thanks for watching.